Welcome to Comic Construction. Let's check out the build, art, and story of G.I. Joe, The Best of Larry Hama, written by, surprise, Larry Hama, with contributions from Steve Leialoha, Rod Wiggum, Russ Heath, Herb Trimpe, et al., published by IDW. This is an oversized hardcover at 8 3/4 by 13 1/4 inches and has 240 pages. That's roughly the size of a DC Absolute or a Marvel Gallery edition when they were doing those books, if that helps you kind of picture it. The cover has 4-color printing on the board with a spot varnish over the G.I. Joe logo and Larry Hama's name. So you can see it's reflective. The rest of the cover doesn't have any sort of coating on it. On the back, it's just on the G.I. Joe logo. Because there's no coating, it helps the varnish stand out a little bit, but not too much. Because if they had put a dull coat, that would really be more striking. The binding is sewn with a black and red head ribbon, and the book has a flat spine. The interior sheet is a fairly thick, low-gloss paper. So it's a nice sheet for sure. This book's pretty old. I think it was printed... It's at least, let's see, first printing 2009. So this thing is 17 years old, and you can see there's no yellowing or anything. The art throughout ranges from good to great. I have to shout out that Larry Hama did the loose pencils for issue 21, Silent Interlude, with Steve Leialoha finishing the art. And it is amazing. And I always love seeing Rod Wiggum's take on these characters, so it's good to have some of his art represented here. We do have to talk about the reproduction quality. Of the 10 issues included, 1 is terrible and 2 or 3 are poor, which is unfortunate. So this is one of the nice ones. This is issue 21, Silent Interlude. But if we jump back here, you can, hopefully the camera's picking up on it, but a lot of the detail is lost. And a lot of the solid black lines kind of look more dotted. And then sometimes there are gradients in the background. So these are probably like issues from the 90s. And they look a little awkward. But that's how they were doing things back in 2009. So I can't hold it against them too much, I guess. I would love to have this kind of book with a couple of changes to it. Then it would be like an amazing artifact. But this book, as the title says, is all about Larry Hama. This is a rather good collection of G.I. Joe stories from the 80s. Of course, issue 21 is included, and the rather excellent issue 34, which is a full-length dog fight, is also included. While I'm flipping through, I have to point this out, just because this is a huge thing. When I was a kid, I had several friends who read G.I. Joe comics, and it was a thing we did. We talked about on the schoolyard and stuff. And I remember one of my friends telling me, like, have you read 21 yet? And I'm like, no. And he's like, it's amazing. You have to read it. So I got it. And, I thought it was cool. It was interesting. It's a very well done story. It's a classic now. But back then it was just like, oh, this is really cool. But then you get to this last page and you see that Storm Shadow, who is just introduced in this issue, and Snake Eyes have the same tattoo on their right arm. And that was like mind blowing. It's like, who is this dude? What is going on here? It's brilliant. And this is the cornerstone of a story that goes from 21 through like really 52 and even a little bit beyond that. Although Storm Shadow's story theoretically can tie up at 52, but it continues because why leave a good character behind, right? The stories included are all very good, but there are a few issues I would have included. Issue 1 is a classic with both the main story, Operation Lady Doomsday, and the backup Hot Potato, being such incredible studies of the relationships of the G.I. Joe team. I would also have included issue 155, which is a powerful meditation on military service and a trip into Snake Eyes' thoughts, which we didn't really get throughout the series because Larry Hama famously did not use thought balloons in G.I. Joe, which was really bucking a huge trend in the 80s. Had this book added those like 2 issues in, and honestly, like, I'm going to dream here. If this was on a really nice sheet like the hardcover compendiums are, like that acid-free matte paper, this would be one of the most amazing books in my collection. So will it stay or will it go? I'm sure you can guess, but if I could only own one G.I. Joe book, this would be it. So this is definitely a keeper. I do think if you want to fully understand what made G.I. Joe so good, the hardcover compendium 1, or even the softcover compendium 1, is a must, because that gives you the first like 50 issues, and you can see how the storytelling in the team working on it kind of build out like what should just be a cheap licensed comic into something very special. Thanks for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and share with a friend.